First of all, I'm a martial artist. I'm not trying to fight with anybody. I'm definitely not trying to get on the stage and argue with no one.
I know what I'm capable of, and I've never been afraid to put it all on the line. I've never been afraid of losing. I've never been afraid of going in there to see who the better man is. And at the end of the day, fight me.
Are you not entertained? Hey, what's up, guys? It's Sharif here, and I'm here with another fight prediction on the Jake Paul versus the Nate Diaz fight happening in just a few hours. This circus has been going on since 2020, and I haven't been able to stop watching. Basically, I want you to have an informed decision when you're discussing this amongst friends or just watching it yourself. To me, the outcome of this fight is clear. And let me just add that I correctly predicted the Tommy Fury fight over the haters and the professionals out there. So hey, I might know what's up. At least hear what I gotta say, right? Okay, we're gonna evaluate the fighters in 5 categories. I would put money down on this. I feel it in my gut based on this analysis that one person is definitely gonna win over the other. Okay, without further ado, let's get into it. The whole concept that a YouTuber can't beat a real fighter with training is ridiculous. And at this point, even Joe Rogan said it.
Smart Jake Paul can crack.
Yeah.
100%. He looks like a real boxer. He doesn't look like a guy who's attempting boxing. That's the difference. The feints, the foot movement, the way he lands shots. He fights like a boxer. He doesn't fight like a guy who's trying to box in a celebrity boxing match.
I'm not saying he's a great boxer, but he's definitely trained enough that we can say that he's a real boxer. Okay, that said, let's just look at the numbers here, okay? We have Nate Diaz, who has a record of 22 wins and 13 losses. Nate Diaz, at the thing that he does best, which is MMA, wins about half the time. Just forget footage, forget the fact that he's a dog and he can take pain. He wins half the time at the thing that he loves and the thing that he considers himself an expert, a top level athlete at. Jake Paul, on the other hand, he has a 6-1 winning streak. Let's just knock off the first two, who is the other YouTuber and the basketball player. Let's say Jake Paul has a real boxing record of 4-1. Let's talk about age. Hate to say it, but after about 30 years old, everything kind of slows down a little bit more. You get smarter, for sure, and you make better decisions in life. But in terms of athleticism and explosiveness and all the markers of being an athlete, those tend to get worse as you get older. So Nate Diaz is 38 years old, I believe, and Jake Paul is about mid-20s, 25.
I'm 26 years old.
Then you just have body fat percentage. I think that's probably a good indicator of how seriously these guys are taking the fight. I'm not necessarily saying that the person who's more ripped is always gonna win. I just think that it's an indicator, okay? And if you looking at the weigh-ins, I don't have numbers on this, but I think it's safe to say that Jake Paul has more muscle mass and less fat. Okay, so looking at our first category of numbers, we have to give it to Jake Paul. Okay, second category, purpose. Who does a win benefit more? Now, Jake Paul is just coming off the loss from Tommy Fury, and yeah, had Jake Paul won, there would have been even more stakes in this battle, but he's still convincing people that he's on a streak, that he's on the up and up, he's getting better, he has a narrative.
I'm more hungry than I've ever been in this boxing world, and I'm coming for war.
His whole story and narrative that's enabling him to make millions of dollars per bout is going to be seriously damaged if he loses this fight. That's not to say that Nate Diaz doesn't have a lot to lose. Nate Diaz is the professional here. He's the expert. Nate Diaz is the guy who should win according to Jake Paul. That's the thing. I think part of Jake Paul's game is getting you to forget the numbers, right? Forget the records, forget the age difference, forget the fitness. Jake Paul wants to be the underdog, and he wants Nate to be the big guy.
First of all, I'm a martial artist. I'm not trying to fight with anybody. I'm definitely not trying to get on the stage and argue with no one. And then people got me mixed up when it comes to that. I just heard Jake Paul saying something about like, he didn't want to bring it on the stage. I'm like, I'm not on the stage to argue. I'm not gonna get into an argument with anybody. If we are, I'm gonna probably sock your ass.
Nate Diaz, I would have said before the press conference that I think that Nate Diaz cares. He said one thing that I felt was very telling. Hear it for yourself.
And no matter how the fight goes, let's don't forget this motherfucker can't really fight, motherfucker. Fuck you.
That doesn't really strike me as words of like someone who thinks that they're gonna win. Here, it's as kind of like, I didn't really try, like whatever, but you know, even if he wins, he ain't shit. Because of that, in terms of category 2 purpose, again, I gotta give it to Jake Paul. All right, category mental toughness. If you've done, you know, any martial art at all, even sparring, you know that there is an element of like, do I want to push through this pain, or do I just want to like tap and get it over with? By the way, in training, you should always tap if your joints are at risk of being broken. But okay, look at the press conference, okay? You got Jake who needs to come with this like emotional energy. It's like he comes in with the big robot.
How do you expect the fight to play out, Jake?
He's gonna come in swinging, doing the dumb shit that he does. I'm gonna weather the storm and knock him the fuck out. Simple and plain. He's never been hit. He's never been hit by someone like me. He's never been hit by someone like me. I promise you that. That's why I keep on sleeping and putting these UFC champs to the canvas.
The robot has 2 screens on his chest, both playing clips of Nate Diaz getting hurt and knocked out and losing fights. He's talking loud. He's talking about like doing sexual acts to Nate. He is so emotional in this fight. It is crazy. And then you look at Nate.
Response to that statement.
I think he's a bully.
Why do you think he's a bully?
Well, I'm not a fucking bully. He's a fucking bully.
Nate believes he's a martial artist, okay? That's it. He's a martial artist who competed in mixed martial arts at the highest level. He's a professional athlete. That's how Nate views himself. I'm not really sure how Jake views himself. Is like, he doesn't think he's a martial artist. He doesn't consider himself that. He's kind of like an exhibitionist, like just...
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Like, I don't know, man. But that's Jake, okay? And I think in terms of those 2 dynamics, the one who has the greater mental strength to push through, I gotta give it to Nate Diaz. Number 4, we're talking about the greater good here. Man, I wish we lived in a world where the greater good always won out, but that's just not the case, okay? But like, look at how Jake sets himself up. I'm gonna bully the bully. He's creating a dynamic. He's trying to get everyone to kind of believe that he's the good guy who should win, and Nate's like the bad guy who should lose, right? And if you look at their faces, like, yeah, Nate kind of looks like he's robbed some people. And if you look at Jake Paul looks like a rich kid who has hired people that look like Nate Diaz to rob people. It's like rich kid versus thug, you know? It's like, and this is the thing, there's a big difference between trying to look good and trying to be good. And like, just if you can, I know Nate Diaz is a man of few words, but if you really like just look at what he says.
People thinking that's the way, you know, and they're influencing people to Like if people are yelling at, if somebody at the press conference, some little kid was at the press conference yelling at John Jones and whoever he's fighting or any of the main events, and that's some stupid and White would have told him get the out of here, who the is this guy, he wouldn't even got a pass. So that's what I mean by amateur, and I think it's a bad example for this. I'm a martial artist, and this is the art of boxing. You're just gonna let some kids in here. So I was not even just mad at him and them. It's the whole amateur promotion. These guys don't know how to do it, and they're making it the new wave of how to do things. It's just make it a little. And
Jake Paul, in actuality, I feel like is a bully. Like he's the one with the money. He's the one with the resources. He's the one who's setting up deals that are unfair. Okay, 24-year-old Jake versus 38-year-old Nate Diaz. Like, come on. Like there are guys in the correct age group that Jake should be fighting, but he still chooses these guys who are out of their prime with big backgrounds and big accomplishments to take down. So yeah, in terms of like the greater good and who should win, I honestly feel like it is Nate Diaz again. Number 5, pro predictions. Let's just like roll a bunch of clips for the pro predictions.
I wouldn't be surprised if this guy won or that guy won. I know that's a very broad answer, but I feel like either one of them could win on the right night.
You're sitting on the fence.
Jay got one tool. He gonna duck his head like this and do this. Amateur ass boxing, you know? And it takes more than that, you know? It takes more than that. So all we gotta do is worry about a stupid right hand. When it comes to boxing, he really don't got that boxing like that. And as the rounds go later, it go more and more in our favor, you know? And another thing you guys don't realize is Nate can hit, you know?
It's a new guy who's on YouTube. You know, he's got the money and the amenities to surround himself with the best people and dedicate himself to fighting, and he's younger and more explosive. And I think Diaz's boxing is good for MMA. It's a completely different thing.
Yes.
You know, it's a completely different thing.
So are you leaning Jake?
Yeah.
I rode with the OG Nate, man. I got nothing but love for Nate. And I think he does good. I think he does well, man. He's a boxer. He's a boxing-based guy in MMA. So now he gets to actually box and stuff, and his reach, and man, he can hit. He can crack, bro. His arms is long, and he can crack, so.
The numbers, the purpose, the mental strength, the greater good, and the pro predictions, and like all that said, I think that it goes to Jake Paul. It shouldn't, but I think that that's how it goes down, and we'll find out in just a couple hours anyway. Nate kind of just looks checked out, man. Like, if I'm just being honest, I think Nate knows the game. He understands that he is just a part of Jake's plan to like continue this circus, and the pay is alluring enough for Nate Diaz to take that fight, and like even knowing that all the odds are stacked against him. If I had to put money down, although hey, betting is haram.
Alhamdulillah, God gave me everything. Alhamdulillah.
I would put my money on Jake Paul. Let's talk about it, man. Do you think I'm right? Do you think Nate Diaz is like somehow gonna mental toughness his way through all of this that's stacked against him? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time, guys. Peace.